He'd been in the town for less than a month when he caught wind of a homeless kid moving around the neighborhood asking for food. Although what he wanted to do was unorthodox, he knew he'd lose himself if he didn't take advantage of this opportunity. Parish member follows priest and boy home, unveils terrible secret. Father Francis Santiago had only been a priest for 10 years when his bishop relocated him to Kansas City, Kansas. Father Francis was pleased to find out he'd be heading an entire parish by himself. He'd spent the last decade learning everything he could about being a man of the cloth. He enjoyed everything that came with being a priest. But something always stood out on his list of favorite things. As a priest, Father Francis intermingled with many people each waking day. His life was divided between mass, visiting the sick and the aging, schools, listening to confessions, and leading weddings, birthdays, and sometimes funerals. Although his list of activities was long, Francis was always happy to lend a hand and an ear to his community. His last parish loved him for this, and he hoped he could cultivate the same culture in Kansas City. Francis had known he wanted to be a priest when he was still young. His family wasn't religious at all, so it shocked many that the little boy was dead set on going to church and forging a life out of it. But each member of his family supported him through his journey to priesthood. They even began going to church, mainly when Francis would serve mass as an altar boy. No one knew what the community of Kansas City would catch him doing years later. The journey to Kansas City was a long one for Father Francis. As a native and priest in Miami, Florida, he found the change of environment as refreshing as it was terrifying. But as a man of God, he had nothing to fear. He began administering Mass on the second Sunday of that same month after an introduction from the diocese's bishop the previous week. So far, he loved his stay in Kansas City. But he'd soon notice something that would upset him to his core. Although Father Francis was doing everything to be a part of his new community, he realized that not many locals were fond of him. Their last priest, Father Albert, had been a favorite for many decades and had retired recently because of old age. Most of the parish felt like Francis was trying to replace him, which was not the case. Getting them to accept him was now a priority on his list. But he wasn't sure how he'd do that yet. Understanding that the folks of his parish would come around eventually, Father Francis decided to take things slow in winning them over. But he would go out of his way to interact and get to know everyone better. As a part of this effort, he held a Saturday party at the church grounds on the third weekend. Many people showed up, but one in particular stuck out. The kid had to be 10 years old. He was dressed in dirty clothes, and his hair was a mess. He immediately snared Father Francis's attention, and the priest knew he needed to interact with him. With a hot plate of food, Francis approached the boy. He offered him the meal and asked if he could sit with him. But the boy did the unexpected. The boy took the plate and filtered into the crowds. Although Father Francis wanted to follow him, hosting the party took precedence over finding out what was going on with the boy. But 30 minutes wouldn't pass before the boy showed up again. The priest kept him in his eyesight, given that he was occupied with parish members and couldn't go straight to him. But he noticed something peculiar about the boy. Although Father Francis had given him a plate big enough to feed 2 kids, the boy was asking around for more food. But he wasn't talking to adults at the party, only the kids. There was fear and worry in his eyes, which drew the priest's attention even more. As evening came and people began filtering out of the party, Francis took a short leave to shadow the boy. He didn't know that he was on camera. Father Francis offered the boy 2 extra takeaway plates of food. He'd noticed the boy wasn't much of a talker and didn't want to scare him away by asking too many questions. Father Francis said farewell after asking for his name and pretended to walk into the church. But as the boy turned the corner, he trailed him. The sun was already setting when Father Francis followed the boy into the most secluded parts of the parish. The boy disappeared into an abandoned shack, only to come out with 2 younger kids. They sat around the 2 plates of food and ate, and it was then that Father Francis eased before them with a smile on his face. After a quick greeting and an assurance that they weren't in trouble, Father Francis asked if he could buy them some milk for the night. He also gave them an additional takeaway plate he'd carried from the day's event. As they ate, he got to know them better. Their story would leave him in tears. The boy revealed that their mom had gotten ill recently and had been sleeping in the house since then. She tasked the boy with caring for his siblings before sleeping, and he did everything to make her proud. The priest knew what the boy meant. He kept his composure even as the reality of things became clear to him. He was about to ask everyone to follow him back to the church when he heard footsteps behind him. Father Francis turned around to find one of his parish members holding a camera. She shared that she'd seen him look worried at the party and feared the worst, especially after he abruptly left. Of course, Father Francis explained everything. With the help of the parish member, they took the kids back to the church and clothed and fed them. A police investigation later revealed that the kids' mom had died due to sickness. The parish tracked down the kids' next of kin, a lovely family who took them in with open arms. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.